Okay, so in this video, I'm going to cover named ranges. So we have some data here on this 2017 tab, basically some sales data. And let's say on this master tab, we would like to just get total sales. So what we usually do, we do equals sum, open our parentheses. Now we go and highlight all of our numbers. So I go into 2017 tab and I'm gonna click on this first number, Control Shift arrow key down to highlight those numbers. For good practice, maybe F4, but that part doesn't matter in this particular case. And close our parentheses, hit enter. That gives us the total from the other tab. A lot of times it becomes really difficult to do this selection because you may want to combine multiple tabs together and things like that. We'll see an example of that. For that, we use named ranges. So instead of using this whole 2017 E2, E310, we can use a named range to simplify the syntax here. Let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to go to 2017. So what I do before I do any formulas, I just go and select all the numbers like this, Control Shift down. So now that this is selected, I want to just go ahead and name this range. So there are a few ways to do it. One way, you can just right click on it. And then if you scroll down here, you're going to find something that's called define named range. So if I click on that, this is going to pop out, and here you give it a name. So I'm going to name this. Make sure you don't use any spaces in this names, and also don't use a name that's already available. So if I try to name this like B300, that cell already exists. I don't want to do that. Anything else you can do. So I can just call this sales numbers or something like that. There we go. Hit done. So now we named this range. So at this point, I can simply go to my master tab, and instead of doing sum and doing that whole selection thing, I can simply just say sales numbers and close my parentheses, hit enter, and I'm gonna get the same result. So now it's simplified. So across this entire worksheet, I can anywhere just use this name and it will refer to that particular range of numbers. So let's see a little nicer example of this. So I'm going to delete that. If you want to get rid of that named range, by the way, if you close this and it's gone, you will have to get to that named range again. So if you go back under data, named ranges, there they are. I'm going to click edit and then click on this little delete button, hit remove, and it's gone. Close, and now that named range doesn't exist. Okay, so now let's do it for multiple tabs example. If I wanted to combine 2017, 2016, and 2015 together, one way I could do it, I could just create my array, and I can go here and basically just do from here, Control Shift right down. That's the first range, right? And then do semicolon. I go to 2016, click in the first one, Control Shift. This doesn't work with Control Shift right down, and that's yet another reason to use named ranges. But again, we'll just fix this later. Semicolon again. And then I go to 2015, and again, because Control Shift right down doesn't work on this next tabs, I'm just gonna do this. Close my curly brackets, hit enter. That should combine all of those tabs now together. The problem here is that one thing I didn't do is that I wasn't able to just select all the way down because I have a lot of data. So now I have to go manually update this. So for example, this one has 2,422 rows. So I will have to go and change this 2,422 or whatever that was. Then I have to go to this one and figure out how many we have here, 2,279. So go back here and do 2279. So again, if you're trying to learn how to combine tabs together, I have a better video covering that. This is about named ranges. So now I have all of those combined together. But that was not very easy to select, especially if I have, let's say, 10 years down here. This is going to be very, very complicated to go and select and then go back and figure out how many things we have in each one and get that all together. So let's try to do the same thing using named ranges. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to 2017, just select my data and give it a name. Right click and define named range, and I'll call this year 2017. Hit OK. So I'm gonna go now back to 2016. Simply gonna just highlight this, click add range. This is another way, by the way, to do it, so you don't have to right click again. Year 2016, done. 2015, same thing. And if you have a lot of them, just keep going. Now I'll go back to my master, and when I have to combine these tabs, I'm going to start with my equal sign, curly bracket, and I have to do my first range. So I'll do year 2017, semicolon, then year 2016, semicolon, and then year 2015, and close my curly bracket. Hit enter. See how much nicer that was? I didn't have to go to any other tabs. I didn't have to select any of those ranges. Just type those names nicely, and there's my data. So hopefully that gives you already some preview how you do this and how you use named ranges and why they're actually useful. So I'm going to delete this. Other things you could do is, a lot of times when you do some sort of VLOOKUP formula or something like that, you can name your range and use those named ranges to do your VLOOKUP formulas, or really pretty much anything you want to do. If you want to run the query function on top of this range, all you have to do is just go back here and do your function. And really what I'm trying to show you is you could use this in any function, right? That's really the point. And for my data, I can just type year 2017. There we go. Comma. And here I can do some sort of select statement. I can say select all columns, and then we want to filter by something. I guess I'll figure out the filter after. I don't remember the columns. Comma. And we have one row as header. So now actually we have 0. Because I selected starting from here. So 0 should have been the number, but the column I want to filter this by, let's say it's gonna be sales. We'll do E column. So I'll get back here. First of all, modify this 1 to 0 because we don't have any headers. When I did my range selection, I didn't include that. And then I'll do select E greater than 200. So all the numbers that are above 200, we would like to get those. I forgot where keyword. There we are. So now we're getting all sales that are above 200. And again, the whole point here is the named range. Now the only challenge from this is that if you go back and you add more records here, add 1,000 rows there, it's not going to be included in your named range because it's a set range. See, the 2017, it says from A2 through H310. We want this to just automatically expand as we're adding new data, so we don't have to go and change our formulas every single time. Usually in Google Sheets, you could just, if you added this range, you could just remove the row reference in the end like this and not include it. When you do this in formulas, it works, right? Now in named ranges, if I do this, see, it doesn't take that. It just removed what I did. So the way to go around that is to just not use any row references. So you just include the whole column like this. So now it's going to take the whole column starting from the top in 2017, which means this labels are included, and going all the way down and all the blanks and everything included. So now it's going to be automatically including new entries. Now going back to this, we have to update this because remember I said there are 0 headers on top, but now because I selected the whole column like this, because that's what A through H means in this particular case, it's going to include this labels on top. So I do have headers on top. So I'm going to go back and change that. So this will be 1 now. The rest just works as is. The only difference is if we just go and add something. So we'll do 1/1/2017, and let's do a very high amount here, like 70,000. So if I go back, control down, see, it's in there. So that's our way to make it more dynamic. If we have to do that, that works. So let me actually delete this. I didn't really want that. You can also do named ranges inside of named ranges. If I have this whole table already named this, I can still go and highlight parts of that table and name them something different. So for example, I can go here and get this column and add a range and call this region 2017. Done. Then I'm going to do this one. So add range, and I'll do sales 2017. And you can keep going and include as many columns as you possibly need. So for example, I can go here and do state 2017. And now because we have this named ranges, we could go to our other tabs or the same tab, doesn't really matter. I'm going to remove this, and we could do some sort of like some ifs formula. Sum range is our sales 2017, comma, criteria range 1, I'm going to check in regions. So I'll do region 2017. And in that region 2017, you know what? I mistyped that. Region 2017, comma. And inside of that region 2017, we would like to check if it's Midwestern, comma. And then we have criteria 2, so that will be my state. So I'll do state. And by the way, when you start typing this, your named ranges show up. So you can just click on it, or you can just go with the arrow up and hit tab, and it will select it, comma. And we will have in Midwestern Illinois, I guess. It's redundant, but we'll do it. So here we go. That's our total sales in Midwestern region and state Illinois. And you can see how much nicer our formula looks with these names, because we can clearly see which one of these items is which, instead of looking at that whole range that says like the tab name and then exclamation sign and that range and all that stuff. Another cool thing is that we can also use these named ranges in different worksheets or different files. So if we have this other sheet, which is completely separate from this one, I can use import range again. Let me just copy this URL of this file and just go here and use my import range function. So we have to do our spreadsheet URL. So that was what I was copying as text. So in quotes, comma. Now I have to do the range in that. So again, usually you would put this range in quotes as string, but now we already have names for everything. So all I need to do, I can just do something like year 2017, hit enter, and see, this is the first time I'm using import range, so I need to allow access to that other spreadsheet, allow access, and it works. And Let me just move this down a little bit, and it's a lot easier to work with this now, and it's a lot easier to remember what's the range and refer to it, rather than doing the tab name and then all that other stuff. We just use a named range. So let's do another example here. So people like to do VLOOKUPs a lot, and we'll do VLOOKUPs using named ranges to see how that works. So we have this tab, and we have some data, and we have stock numbers in this tab. And we also have this products tab where we have stock numbers, and we have the brand. We would like to pull the brand from this tab to this tab. Before I even start my VLOOKUP, I'm going to go to my products tab, and I'm going to just select my VLOOKUP table, or in this case, VLOOKUP columns. That's going to be from here through here, because we need to start with whatever we're searching. We have stock numbers matching, so it needs to start with that column. And we also want to include brand in there. I could probably just do this, just thinking that I might need the price or the cost later on. Right click and define a name for this. Call this products table. There it is, products, done. So now I named this table. At this point, I'm gonna go back under transactions, create my VLOOKUP. I'm gonna close this so there's space to work. I'm gonna do brand and equals VLOOKUP. So I'm searching for this stock number, that's my lookup value, comma, and this is where we have to do the range, which is that table on the other tab, and I named that table products. There it is, it shows up here, products, comma. Now in that products table, which column was brand? It was the third column in that table, 3, comma, and finally it needs to be an exact match, 0. Close this, hit enter, and this works just like that. We can double click this and send this down. Again, if I'm working from a completely different file, so let's say, let me delete this, copy this whole thing. Okay, going back here, I'm gonna try to paste it. So now I'm going to basically do the same thing, only now I have this file and I have to pull all those values from this range that we defined. So I'm gonna go here, and first I'll have to use, well, let's name it. I'm gonna start with my import range function to make sure I give access to that spreadsheet. And we need spreadsheet URL, so that's gonna be, well, I'll just copy the whole URL. I'll paste it here. You can just do ID of the spreadsheet, and that's what I usually do. So to simplify this, I'll remove this part after this D slash. You could leave the whole thing in. And after this slash, I'm gonna remove that. To simplify this, that's gonna be the spreadsheet URL, comma, and in that spreadsheet, we want to refer to a range. So again, in quotes, I'm going to refer to that range, and the range is called products. Close this, and see, we need to allow access. Now that we did this once, you have to run this import range function once to just give access. You didn't have to do products to give access, because if you have a large table, you probably don't want to do this. So in the beginning, you can just do something like A1 or something like that and give that access so it works. And then you're free to do whatever you're supposed to do after that. So in my case, this is supposed to be products. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut that import range function because I'm going to need to use it. And I'm going to start with VLOOKUP. And then close this. So lookup value is going to be this, comma. And then we have the table, which is where I'm going to paste my import range function, comma. The column index is 3, comma, and this is 0. It is not sorted. Close, hit enter. And then just click on this, double click to copy this down. And that's our VLOOKUP from the other tab. So those are some examples of using named ranges. Again, if you decide you want to change those or delete those or do something with them, make sure you're going to have to go under your data tab and you're going to go under named ranges. They are all going to be here. If you want to change something or delete, just click edit and change it. And that will be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.